and welcome to Health Bar Half Full, the podcast that makes you feel good about liking games. My name is Randy Fluharty, and I am only Randy Fluharty, as you can tell, I guess if you're listening or watching. I am not Adam McDermott, nor am I Nathan Hughes, and neither one of them are here today. Unfortunately, due to scheduling conflicts, I'm going solo today. As I'm sure you paid for the solo. Yeah, you paid for nothing. Don't think you earned this. I'm just giving it to you for free, which is giving you positivity based on the fact that this is a positivity podcast, a gaming positivity podcast. So what's this going to look like? What's this going to be? I'm just going to riff for a little bit and see how long it's going to go. I was thinking give you a little update on how things are going with Randy, and then maybe talk about something that only I, of the podcast hosts, know about, and that is gaming as a parent, or parenting as a gamer, parenting vis-a-vis gaming, because it is something that I have some insight on about what that's like, and how my gaming habits have changed since becoming a father. And yeah, I was thinking maybe I can talk a little bit about that, because it's not something I can go too deep into when I have a bachelor. Well, I guess you should say they're not bachelors per se, but friends that do not have kids. It's not something I get to talk to people about a lot. So, all right. So what's going on with me today? If you're listening to this or watching this, I am a content creator these days. I still don't have a job. I've actually turned down some jobs because I really want to focus on this stuff. That's a terrible decision. My family doesn't eat anymore. Like, good thing, you can live quite a while without eating, and you can get scraps. You can find stuff lying around. We went into the kids' rooms and kind of swept under their beds. Oh, there's crumbs under here. That'll last us a little while. Yeah, terrible decisions all around, but I am getting some momentum in terms of the content creation thing. I'm well on my way to being able to be monetized this year on YouTube anyway. And the watch time on my videos, quite good. The watch time on this podcast, quite good. Way better than I would expect. You people are nuts. What are you doing? You're wasting your life. I'm kidding. I very much appreciate it. I am about to complete the Let Us play of Resident Evil, playing as Jill using only the knife. The unique thing about that Let's Play, I call it Let Us play because contractions are scary, is that I edit jokes in, and I do unique things that you can't do in a live setting. I'm primarily live most of the time these days, but with that Resident Evil series, I pepper in jokes that I couldn't do while streaming to an audience. So I have included original music numbers that I wrote and composed myself. I say composed. Does it count as composition if I just use my mouth to make something that somewhat resembles music? I don't know, but I did it, and I wrote lyrics for certain things, and I'm pretty proud of how those turned out. They're pretty funny to me. At least they make me laugh when I make them. So, and there's just, I do flashbacks and cutaways and all that stuff, and it's something that traditional Let's Plays don't have, and I'm pretty proud of it. So check that out. It's going to be complete, as in the last episode's going to come out next week. And then I'm going to compile it all into one video, put it out there for the world to see. That's going well. Currently streaming. I just finished streaming Deus Ex. I was calling it Deuce X because that makes me laugh. At least on the inside. I don't really laugh outwardly very often, but when I say it makes me laugh, I feel laughter coming. I choke it down because it's not allowed to come out, but it's in there. So I feel the inner laugh going. And Deus Ex, the 2000 game for the personal computer, played that for the first time, streamed it on the hardest difficulty. That is an unforgiving, unrelenting, difficult game, and I did it. Lots of saving, lots of loading. and that seems to be doing quite well. The archives, people are watching that thing like crazy. I would check that out. It's in a playlist, youtube.com/randyfluharty, which is not something I said yet. There you go. That's where all that stuff is. Currently streaming Tomb Raider, the original Tomb Raider, the remastered version, and I have challenged myself to complete it without saving in the middle of a level. So I start a level, I make a save for the start of that level, and then I have to play that level all the way through. And if you're familiar with the original Tomb Raider, you know, A, that game is hard. B, those levels are really long. So we have had a couple of major setbacks, let's say, in that streaming series. So I would check that out as well. I usually go live 8:30 U.S. Eastern, occasionally throughout occasionally on random days throughout the week. So it's not occasionally, it's weekly, but the day varies. And if you want to know when I'm going to go live, I normally inform my Discord is usually the best place to go, and that's tinyurl.com/Randy-Discord. You go in there, and that's public. You can go in there, get some discussions going with the folks that have deemed me worth interacting with, and more power to them. I appreciate it. Don't understand it, but I appreciate it. And yeah, I'll let the Discord know usually about a day in advance at the very least, normally a few days in advance. And Tomb Raider is usually midweek at 8:30 U.S. Eastern time. We usually go live there. Check it out. That's going well. Again, the archives getting a decent amount of watch time, more than zero. I'm surprised because I thought the live stream archive was already working against me, but someone playing a video game on YouTube now, kind of old. It's an old concept. The idea that people are still looking for that, and specifically the way that I'm doing it, I'm very happy with that. And it gives me validation and reassurance and that there's merit to this. And it's worth spending my time on. It's worth turning those jobs down if eventually enough of those people show up. If I've proven that they're out there, those people are out there, they exist. They just need to show up. And if you're listening to this and you're one of those people, very much appreciated. You're part of history. You're among the early adopters, and you should be proud of that. You should feel good about yourself. You're much cooler than the people that are going to come later. I'm not going to know any of their names. If you sign up now, if you join now, if you subscribe now, if you follow now, if you join my Discord now, I'm going to know who you are. That's not always going to be true. So thank you for those people, and subscribe, do all that stuff. Love it. Love it so much. I hate saying it though. I love it when you do it, but I hate that I have to tell you to do it. It's just so weird. You're an adult. You know how these platforms work. Why do I have to say words? But that's, it is what it is. And finally, the other game I am playing is Digimon World for the PlayStation 1. That is also going, that's like weirdly the sleeper hit where people are coming out as like, you are reliving my childhood. Thank you so much. And the live chats for those streams are bumping. They are going nuts. People are offering me suggestions. People are reminiscing about their childhood memories with that game and Digimon as a whole, and they're informing me about the lore. People are just super excited about Digimon. I did not expect that to pop off the way that it did. Yes and no, I guess. It was a strategic move. I saw that Digimon had a new game announced at the State of Play. More on that later. And I decided to, is there a PS1 game that is Digimon? The answer is yes. All right, let's check that out. Surely there must be hype for Digimon. And surely there was. There was quite a bit. So awesome. And also, that game's super cool. Like, I'm way into that thing. It's not for everybody. I imagine people would be like, well, why? The grind is brutal. I'm not one of those people that just immediately is turned off by grinding in games. I kind of like it. I don't know. I like friction, especially with the way Digimon does it, which is there's friction, but then there's the alleviation of that friction, and that's a great feeling, right? I start off being able to only get a little bit of food for my Digimon, but then I play and I unlock something that unlocks more food for that Digimon, and it snowballs, and the progression becomes faster. And that's just a good loop. It's fun. It's satisfying. I asked the chat, like, is there going to be fast travel? And they say, yeah, you can unlock fast travel later because there's a lot of friction with the travel. So the idea that I'll be able to bypass that down the road is awesome. Like, I'm going to get annoyed by it, and then I'm going to feel great when it's gone. So yeah, I'm impressed. That game is deep. There's a lot of stats. There's a lot of numbers. It is surprisingly brutal and also surprisingly scatological. There is an amazing amount of poop in that game. So if you're into poop, might I recommend Digimon World for the PlayStation 1. It's pretty great. Yeah, so, and I usually stream those at, again, random days. So if you join my Discord, and it's in the description, I'm going to stop saying it out loud because it's really, the Discord's in the description if you want to join. I usually stream those in the afternoons, midweek, 1:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. And once again, I inform the Discord about a day in advance, sometimes more, usually more, but I try to do at least a day. Finally, last time we spoke, I had watched the state of play and streamed while watching it. Streamed my face and my voice watching the state of play. But I did so in character, sort of. I was doing a bit where I was pretending it was the 90s and the state of play was for the PlayStation 1. This is probably the weirdest and most surprising hit of them all, where not a lot of people showed up live, but there is now hundreds of hours of watch time on that video after I streamed it live. It's no longer live. People are looking at it now after they know what happened. I don't know why. They're not commenting. They're not subscribing, which I don't know why that is, but they're watching the whole thing, most of it anyway. And it's a decent amount of people. It's my most successful video outside of the Resident Evil 1 compilation that I released a month ago since I've redone this, since I started content creation again. Where is that coming from? But clearly people were drawn to the way that I was watching that thing, because you can just look up any old article to see what was announced. You could just watch the thing yourself. So someone chose my commentary over that, and were not turned off by the fact that I was saying that it was the 90s. maybe they were turned on by the fact that I was saying it was the 90s. Maybe that's just something they're into. I'm not going to judge. I'm into it, but it's not out there. Like that kind of content's not out there for me. So I have to do my job and make sure it's out there for people that want it. And I've done that, and people seem to appreciate it. Not engaged people, or I guess I should say not people that want to talk about it, because I'm not sure what the psychology is, but boy, the metrics are showing that they're watching it. And at the end of the day, that's what helps Daddy. And speaking of Daddy, that's kind of it when it comes to an update for me. Not a lot has gone on in my life outside of content creation, except today's topic: parenting. Specifically, gaming and being a gamer while being a parent. I want to talk about it. So I'm going to go and give you a little bit of history about me so you understand the context. And then I'm going to talk about, throughout the course of my fathership, me being a father, how gaming has been impacted, the lows and the highs, and there's some of both. So let's see where this goes. I don't know how long this is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be entertaining. I don't know if I'll lose the thread or what. I don't know. I've been going for 15 minutes already. Not terrible, I guess. So let's get started. So I want to talk to you. My wife. I got with my wife when she was 25. Yeah, almost 25. She was 24, turning 25. And I was 24. And no, 23, turning 24. The math doesn't matter. We were in our mid 20s, and I am slightly younger than her, very slightly, like a year. So she, when I got with her, had 2 children. One special needs. I'm gonna get a little deep here. I don't like sharing this stuff. It kind of comes with the territory of being a content creator, and I just have to get over it. So I'm gonna get a little personal here. Our oldest son, my wife had him when she was very young, and he had complications. Probably as a result, we don't really know. But as of today, he has special needs. But he was, what is he now? How old is he? Boy, no. I'm looking at the calendar and I'm realizing that it's 2025. That will make him 21 years of age this year. That's crazy. So, and we got together about 11 years ago. So he was about 9, 10, something along those lines. That was, and she also had another son from a different relationship, and he was about 3, turning 4 by the time I came along. But they are both in a mine now. I've stolen them through legal, complicated processes. It's a very long story. All you need to know is that I have those 2 children now. Children, 21 years of age. He's special needs, so he's still kind of a child. We still take care of him. So gaming throughout that period where I had those 2 stepkids was interesting because it was right at the dawn of the mobile game boom. Not that mobile games hadn't been around a while, but our young child in particular at the time was way into Angry Birds. So I kind of had to get him to, I kind of just had to play mobile games with him. And it's something that I never pursued. It's something I don't pursue today. So it was an interesting experience playing those mobile games with him. And I also tried to get him into other games because he liked the Super Mario Brothers cartoon, which was on Netflix, which is something that he just encountered. Streaming services were not what they were today or what they are today. So he just encountered Super Mario Brothers, had no idea what it was. So I got to expose him to that. Sonic the Hedgehog, same thing. He saw the cartoon. He wanted to see the game. It's something that it was not really something I expected. And I'm glad it happened because I was able to share both mobile gaming and games that I grew up with him. And they kind of just didn't matter to him. Like it was out of time, but it didn't seem like it. One, those games look good today. So it's not like he's like, oh, ew, gross. Because you watch, or if you play mobile games, they're still cartoony. So he sees Super Mario Brothers on the screen. It's cartoony. It's good enough. Like I get what I'm looking at. Same with Sonic. Sonic just looks like Sonic. It's a little jankier, a little sharper, a little edgier, and I mean that in the literal sense, not the personality sense. But hey, it works for me. I know who that is. So that was interesting. I was able to appreciate game design from a mobile perspective, and this was before I was really big into analyzing game design. When I wouldn't have otherwise. So I know a lot more about mobile games as a result. Still not my preferred way to play games, so I don't pursue them anymore. And that son, who is much older now, he's 15, he's going to turn 16. Oh my God. He is way into Roblox right now, as every child of that generation kind of is, and probably every child moving forward. He was into Minecraft for a while. I got to play that with him. Fortnite, I got to play with him. So I was exposed to the children's mainstream games that people are aware of. Like I started dabbling with the development kit for whatever it's called on Roblox and tried to learn Lua, and I did learn some of it, and I don't like it. I don't like that they use that for their language, but I got to understand the appeal of Roblox, and it's interesting from a point of view of people chasing that dream. Fortnite is going to try, But the appeal of Roblox is that you press a button and the game immediately opens and you're in it. Fortnite can't do that. And until it does, until something else does, I don't see how they're going to, I don't think anyone's going to take it down anyway, because kids have been in that for a decade or more. So they're just locked into that ecosystem, ignoring the problematic business practices for a moment. Just, it's a smart product. It's basically unlimited games that you play with a click of a button, press of a button. And you're in there, you're playing with your friends, you can group up and say, like, let's all click this one and see what it is. It reminded me of the days of playing StarCraft and Warcraft 3 mods, where we would go in like, oh, what's this one about? What's this custom map about? Grouping up with friends over TeamSpeak and checking those out, or Ventrilo servers. It's also reminded me a bit of Flash game portals, where the barrier to entry was none, the risk was none. I'm going to click this and see what it is. If I don't like it, I'm going to move on. I do this, actually. I fall into this trap where I kind of get, this shirt is far too big and it makes me look a lot heavier than I am. My beard also not helping me. I have been dropping weight. It doesn't look like it on camera. Got distracted. It's okay. I tend to criticize the instant gratification of entertainment these days, because it leads to short attention spans and all that stuff. And that's true, but we've been building to that for a long time. My generation had those flash sites, right? So it's just been this way. This is the way it was going. We need to adapt based on how it is now, not try to correct it. We can't correct it. So I don't try to limit the amount of entertainment exposure for my kids. It's not something that I think is useful. I didn't have it growing up, and I'm trying to teach them that we are in a world of instant gratification. We are in a world of screens. Get used to it. You might as well just go crazy, and we will deal with the consequences as they come up. So far, it has not been an issue, but I'm sure it will be. Anyway, so that's the middle child and my gaming experience with him during that period. But for me, there really wasn't much of a difference, right? He was still, I was heavily involved in his life, but one, he was older. He was not an infant. He was not a toddler. So I was able to kind of, separate my interests while also sharing with his. And I also didn't live with my wife or the other kids at the time. So I went there, spent most of the day there, spent most of the weekend there. I came home, then it was my time. I could do whatever I want. When I wasn't working, of course. Or in school, because I actually went back to college later in life. So I think I was in college when I actually got with my wife. She was not my wife at the time, if it's not clear. Like I do. We didn't get married and then get together. It was, it was the other way around. We got together first, and then marriage came years later. Anyway. And I was just up to date on games at the time. I played games all the time. There weren't as many. When a game came out on Steam, it was a big deal, or bigger deal. There was a time where a game came out on Steam and you knew, but that's not the case anymore. It was barely the case in 2012 through 2016, whatever it is. But now it's just a mountain of trash that gets released every day. But hey, people work hard on those games. I've made trash. Don't worry about it. I mean it with love. I say trash with love. Yeah. I was playing the big AAA games at the time. I was playing the big indie games at the time. But I was not in the super niche games, of which they weren't as easy to find back then. Nowadays, itch.io is a big thing that I've explored, and I mess around with games on there. I check Steam Steam is basically where any game is now, so even the niche ones. I look for those. I get Humble Bundle stuff all the time. But back then it was like, if you're on a storefront, I'm probably going to look at you. But if you're not, I'm probably not. That's kind of where it was. I was becoming mostly digital. I had a PC at the time. I also had most of the consoles, but PC was primarily where I did things. And that was it. Like, I don't know if I would play World of Warcraft. That's still true to this day. And so my gaming habits weren't really changed. Fast forward a minute. I mean, don't fast forward for a minute. Like, hey, let's just get to the point. In 2021, skipping a whole lot of my life at this point, but we're getting to the topic of I then, with my wife, created a new child using my ingredients from scratch. I stumbled over that just in case you didn't understand. With my wife, I created a new child with my ingredients from scratch. Which means, okay, we're not gonna get too in the detail. Like, most people know how that stuff works. If you don't, you're not gonna learn it here. But when a man and a woman love each other, no, okay. Anyway, we had our child, and right before, like weeks before my child was born, I was playing Yakuza Like a Dragon. And I loved it. I loved it. I ate it up. I was at a job I did not love, but I really liked coming home and playing Yakuza Like a Dragon. I finished it right before my son was born. Then my son was born. Skipping all of the born stuff, because this is about gaming. We brought him home, and he was a quiet little newborn baby. Slept most of the time. It was fantastic. Very first night we brought him home, I stayed awake and played Persona 5 Strikers for the entirety of the night so my wife could get some rest. He slept most of it. He woke up occasionally. I fed him. He went back to sleep. It was great. So I'm sitting there thinking like, oh, okay, this is just the sweet life. We figured it out. He's just going to sleep 90% of my life, and I'm going to feed him, and I'll love him. And then when he's asleep, I will play video games, just like I always have. If you couldn't tell where that was going to go. No. Instead, within 7 days of him being brought home from the hospital, colic kicked in. If you don't know what colic is, it's just a newborn/infant child that screams nonstop for no discernible reason. I'm sure there are reasons. I didn't care much about him because I was just told there's not really anything you can do. That had an impact on the amount of time I was able to play video games. I had to hold the child most of the time. So not ideal. And that was a little bit of a rough period because I didn't sleep much, and gaming, as you might expect, dropped a little bit. At the same time, I foolishly decided to make myself feel better by buying a PlayStation 5, which was hard to obtain. I actually got really lucky because if at the time, I don't know if anyone remembers, but they were hard to find, and you had to kind of log on to the website that were selling them. They would warn you beforehand. They're like, we're going to be selling PS5s from this time to this time. And you had to be really lucky that the server was stable enough for you to get on, and that it loaded fast enough for you to add a PlayStation 5 to your cart. I tried doing that for weeks and had no success. And then randomly, I don't know what possessed me to do it, but my wife got a text from her sister that said, hey, they're selling PS5s now. It's probably too late, but give it a shot. And I decided to try, and I got one. It was nuts. Showed up to my house. My son still crying, crying a lot. But I said, well, I'm not sleeping anyway, so while he's asleep, I'm just going to play some PlayStation 5. And I played through Spider-Man Miles Morales, and I played through the Call of Duty. And why? Because those are what came with it. And then Returnal came out, and I played that. And Ratchet and Clank came out, and I played that. So it was actually a fair amount of game time relative to what I play today. But at the time, I'm sitting there thinking like, man, I don't play enough video games anymore. I can't. I'm just with this screaming child all the time. A game changer was when we figured out that he stops crying when he's bounced. As in not like literally bounced off the ground. That would be grounds for my arrest. Instead, like actual just, a little bit of bounce while you're holding him up and down, nothing major, rocking movement, holding the child and moving around in a way such that he stops crying. That was a game changer for us. Problem being is that you can't always hold an infant in your hands. Solution. They they make straps slash harnesses that you can attach to your body, which will allow you to attach the child to your body. Therefore, any movement that you produce will then be extended to the child that is attached to your body. Perfect. I've got this. And I attached that child to my body, and I loaded up Plague Tale Innocence because it was on PlayStation Plus, and I'm like, I've got my new PlayStation 5. Let's check that out. And I played through the entirety of Plague Tale with an infant strapped to my chest. It was glorious. And I figured, like, okay, well, if I'm gonna game like this for the rest of my life, I guess that'll work, because it's strengthening my posterior chain, and like that's not terrible. It's just my feet are a little tired, but it's okay. Enter toddlerhood. He can now move, and he was an early adopter of movement. He started crawling way sooner than we thought. He started walking way sooner than we thought. He started talking way sooner than we thought he would. I should probably finish the sentence properly. So now we have this mobile, attention-seeking unit chasing us around. The gaming kind of fell off the face of the earth there for a while, because my wife is going through some stuff. She's obviously tired. She wants to go back to school. She's working, so on and so forth. I'm working. I'm barely sleeping. He's terrible at sleeping to begin with, and now he's walking around and demands my awake attention, and strapping him just isn't enough anymore. He needs to be moving around. So I just kind of stopped gaming. Like, it was tough for a really long time. And it was interesting because not only did I stop the habit, but I stopped realizing how important it was to me, because I had to convince myself that this is just dumb. This is just a hobby. I can find another hobby. These are just video games. It doesn't matter. They're toys. I don't need this. And I do that a lot, right? Where my dog died, and I was visibly kind of over my shoulder there. You can see him as an air freshener. But yeah, so my dog passed away, and I kept telling myself, it's just a dog. It's not a real human. Why am I so upset by this? I try to logic my way into being okay with things, and a lot of times I succeed, and that's scary, because then it bites me later when it comes back, and there's something missing in my life, and I can't discern why. I'm like, well, that's not a problem, because I already talked myself out of that one. That can't be it. I can't need to play video games more, because I already told myself that I don't need to play them, so we're good. It must be something else. No, it was that. It was I need more alone time. It was I need more sleep. And no matter how much I told myself I don't need those things, I did need those things. I still deal with this, where I tell myself that I don't need something when I absolutely do. I try, as a father, I feel compelled to burden myself, sometimes unnecessarily, for the betterment of my family. And that's probably a terrible stereotype and a cliche that the father's trying to take that on, but that I can't help it. Like, whether it's biology or culture that just influenced me, society, whatever it is, environment, I decided that I had to be the one that carried that burden. Not to say that my wife wasn't carrying stuff, but I told her, like, you get to sleep. I don't need sleep. Your job requires more physical demands. I get to sit at a desk. You sleep. And that worked for a bit, but as I mentioned, it only for a bit, because eventually it started eating away at me. It's like, why am I just so burnt out? Why am I sad? Why am I tired all the time? My needs were not getting addressed. That happens today. It's still, I run into it where I'm like, why does this suck? I mean, this can mean anything. And it's usually, I don't know what this is. I don't know what the problem is. This went on for years. I went on and off for years, occasionally getting a weekend here and there where I'd play a video game. But most of the time, I just wrote video games off. And that's crazy to think about, considering who I am, what my dreams were, which is to work in the video game industry, which I accomplished, by the way, and we'll probably touch on that in a minute. And playing video games was just the thing that I did. Not only did I want to work there, but I just did it in my free time. It was what I wanted to do. And then very quickly, it changed. You think that's all bad. You're sitting there thinking like, well, Randy, that's terrible. I don't want children. There is nothing more fulfilling than seeing the benefits of being a decent parent. Seeing, especially relative to other kids his age, the lessons that I know I intentionally tried to instill in him being enacted in real world settings. There's nothing better. That's the ultimate video game, right? I had a challenge that I needed to complete. He doesn't know this. He was born into this world. He knows nothing. I needed to make sure biology doesn't prepare you for this. Human beings are animals that suddenly got weirdly smart out of nowhere. Unless you believe something I don't, that is how it worked. We were not prepared to be smart. Our bodies, our physiology, our instincts completely conflict with what our brains are capable of. Our brains are fighting what our bodies want. A child doesn't, I'm pointing over there as if there's something over there. There's not, there's a door. Children don't understand why their instincts are not allowed. Their impulses are not allowed. In the caveman days, there were no outlets that you could put forks into. So we have to teach them that you can't put forks in an outlet. But knowing that, being a father, knowing that I had struggles through dealing with the system the way that it is, I have and have successfully and unsuccessfully dealt with it. I've learned a lot. I'm wise now. I can show him the way. I can mentor him. Not just father him, but tell him everything I know, everything I learned, so he doesn't make the same mistakes. And you'd think that would start paying off 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now. It pays off now. I see him now making the right decisions. I see him now understanding the consequences to his actions. It is beautiful. There is no video game that's going to match that. There is no video game that is going to give me the feeling of him just needing daddy when he has a bad dream. And it sucks, and it's a cliche, and it's just cornball as heck. And people are thinking like, well, if I don't have a child, then I won't know what I'm missing. You're right. And there are times where I think that. Even when he's here now, I still think that today. Man, I wouldn't even know what I was missing, and then I would be sleeping. I wouldn't know what I was missing. I would still be playing video games. I would be caught up on the latest video games. That probably not right to say out loud, but there are times where I regret having this new child because I resent the fact that I don't have that the way that I used to. And I struggle. You heard me say it. I struggle when I think something should be okay and it's not. I tell myself it is okay and I move on. Every time I needed time to myself but had to sacrifice it to be a parent, I put it on the list and say like, but I don't actually need that. Instead of trying to find it somewhere else, trying to find a compromise, something that kept me going, I just shoved it off like, no, my son needs me. That led to me getting resentful about being a father, and that's not good. This podcast came about at the complete other end. We're at the logical conclusion, not the logical conclusion. What, the apex, maybe the apex of that feeling where I'm just like, I am so bummed out. I don't have an outlet for this. I don't have a way to socialize about this stuff. And it's eating away at me. And I was counting the seconds until my son went to sleep. He sleeps much better now, by the way. I worked really hard on that. So like now when he goes to sleep, more or less he sleeps through the night. So that works out. And he's in his own bed. It's perfect. I know there are an alarming number of parents that I am aware of that still sleep with their children. And I'm just like, man, I don't know how you do. I'm the lightest sleeper in the world, and no way. And on the occasional time when our son has a bad dream and he needs to sleep with us, it's a nightmare. I just don't sleep. So yeah, I don't know how people do it every night. I made sure that we wouldn't. It was something that was very important to me. Had my wife's support in that, which was great. And that's something I want to mention too. Like my wife, also dealing with all of this. This is not unique to me. And it was also weird because when she had her younger kids, she had her mother at the time and all of those family members to help her through it. She wasn't working, definitely not as demanding of a job as she is now, but in some cases not at all. So she could focus most of her efforts on being a parent. That's we built a life and then had another child. So then we had to try to find a way to keep living that life and fulfilling and making sure we are completing our responsibilities while also now we have this new one. And it was she even admits it's harder now. She has been amazing. So very much happy with how she has helped me through this. She is helping me even more today than she was before. It's a testament to our partnership that we can give and take, discuss our things. I say that we literally argued about transparency today. However, most of the time we do quite well. You're never going to find a relationship that you don't argue. And maybe you do. I don't know. I'm not. Maybe your relationship's better than mine. And you're going to brag about it. You're going to send me a message about it. Whatever. So there we are. I'm super depressed, not playing video games really at all. I am keeping up with them with podcasts. That was kind of the only thing that I had, which was, okay, my son needs me present, but I can wear headphones. So I guess I'm going to do that. Listen to audiobooks, did whatever I could just to make sure I had some kind of a mental stimulus in some way outside of Blippi or Blaze and the Monster Machines, which is it's not enough for someone of my cognition. So it's just not enough. It got a little rough, and it did start to get better though. We got my wife through school. She got a nice paying job. I entered the game industry. I was making games in my spare time, even before my son was born. After my son was born, I did it on my lunch breaks at work. So I had a little bit of a portfolio of games that I made. And I was unhappy with the job that I was at. So I just on a whim applied to this position. I got it. Boy, I made it in the game industry. I had colleagues that worked on games for Nintendo, for PlayStation, for Ubisoft, for all of these amazing companies. On my LinkedIn, there's the lead programmer of Star Fox Adventures. He also programmed on Diddy Kong Racing. He wrote a recommendation on my LinkedIn. I'm so proud of that. It's amazing. Like I was able to work with him. That's great. I worked with someone that was that important to video game history. Not that Star Fox Adventures set the world on fire, but it's Star Fox, man. It's a big deal. It's Diddy Kong Racing. It's a big deal. Those were games that were advertised on TV. I know those games. I played those games. Those aren't nothing. So it was really cool that I got to work with him and that he saw fit to write me a recommendation. He was impressed enough with me. So that was great. I'm still pretty proud of that. Yeah. Yeah, things didn't stay great though. The job that I got in the game industry was a live service games company. And if you are familiar with the landscape of games, live service is not necessarily the hottest thing going. I lasted in that company for about a year and a half. And then unfortunately, I can say this now, I didn't sign anything. Well, I did sign something. Probably shouldn't say it. There was a game that did not do well. It's underselling it a little bit. A game that it did not do well that resulted in some major changes to that company. And I was among the changes that were made. Although I did survive, I think, at least one, if not two rounds of major changes. So I was pretty grateful for that. But at some point, there are only so many people that left that can be majorly changed. And then I was there. I was pretty upset that day. Coincidentally, the exact same day of the U.S. presidential election. So if you haven't caught on about my political views yet, I'll inform you here. I was displeased with the results of the U.S. presidential election on the very same day that I got laid off. That's not a good day. So things got messed up for a while. I had an identity crisis. I'm dad, but who else am I now? I'm not video gamer. I'm not professional wrestler, which is something I had to give up for COVID. I'm not writer anymore. I don't write. I have a degree in writing. I don't write anymore outside of work, which as of today is no longer the case. What's left? Plenty of hobbies have gone by the wayside, or plenty of things that I identify myself with. And I don't want to identify myself with things that I do, but you can't help it either, because the things that we do encompass a lot of our lives. So what's left? I had started dabbling in content creation while I was working. I was trying to focus it more on career stuff. So game development, technical writing, which is what I was doing in the game industry. I tried to make videos about that, but it didn't land, and it shouldn't have. One, they were poorly done. They were just me staring at a crappy quality webcam and talking over nothing. And I'm not terrible at talking. I'm talking right now. I'm not going to edit any of this, so I'm not that bad at it. However, it wasn't relevant to the interests of the people that have subscribed, which, by the way, my channel as of this year is 17 years old. I've been making videos on and off since 2008. And people are still to this day talking to me about the videos I made in 2008. I have people in my Discord, which, by the way, you can join with the link in the description. I have people in my Discord still talking about specific jokes that I made in videos that I made in 2008, and they're watching my stuff today. It was at that point when I restarted making the content creation. Granted, it was the wrong type, but when I started making game design videos and technical writing videos, and I saw people come out and say, like, I'm just happy that you're alive and doing well because you meant so much to me. That's crazy. I had 700 subscribers, all of which were obtained in 2008, roughly. So it's not like I had new people coming out or anything like that. It's people that 16, 17 years ago saw my stuff and it meant something to them. I get messages, people saying, like, you got me through hard times. That's crazy. I was just making those videos for goofs, and I didn't know what I had. I didn't know what I was. I was kind of ahead of I was ahead of my time a little bit, because Let's Plays weren't really a thing. I didn't even know what to call it. So if I had stuck with it, who knows where I would have been, but I'm not going to dwell on that. That's a really, really bad way to have good mental health, is to regret decisions you made. So I'm not going to do that. When I got laid off, and I remembered the outpouring of support that I got when I started making videos again, and I started streaming again, even while I was working, I was streaming again, and the streaming was going really well. I decided that my wife, I got her through college. I supported her through college, both as a father and as a bread earner. Do you earn bread or you win bread, whatever it is? I made money while she went to college. I went to my wife and said, I want to give this a shot. I've never had the chance to. since I initially had the chance to, and I blew the initial chance. I really want to see what I could do if I actually tried. In 2024, which is the time that I had this conversation with her, that was a wild thing to say. No one should be starting gaming-related content creation in 2024. My wife knew that. I even said that at the time when I was saying that I really wanted to give it a shot. And she said, yeah, I think you could. I think you could do this. I'm making decent enough money now. You don't have to rush back to work. Give it a shot. That was amazing. Like, again, shout out to my wife and her amazing support. And here we are today. I reached out to Adam McDermott of, well, Platinum Journey fame, but also I met him when we were doing stuff for a volunteer website, and that's how we knew each other. And then we started making a podcast. Maybe you're familiar with it back then. And I reached back out to him. It had been like 10 years since I meaningfully spoke to him. And he said, yeah, let's do it. And then I got Nathan in, and I told him my pitch. I'm like, I'm just having a rough time, and I don't want to have a rough time anymore. Even the podcasts I listen to are just bumming me out, as they should. It's rough out there. You need to talk about that. But not enough people are not talking about it. And I want to be the one that doesn't talk about it. Not to say that I won't engage when I need to. Not to say if you ask me about it, I won't discuss it with you. But for every one of me, of which I don't know how many there are, but for every one of me, there is a million different ways you can hear the news and the bleak outlook and all that stuff. A lot of which I agree with, but I didn't want to cover it. I wanted to remember myself. I wanted to remember why I played games, why it was sad when I wasn't playing games, what games meant to me. We like games. You watching this, listening to this, like games. And I wanted to celebrate that. I wanted to remember that. I wanted to make sure we didn't lose sight of that when all of the other crap around us is falling apart. Yeah, we're mad, but we're mad because we care. We care about games. Don't forget that. And I was forgetting that. I told myself, no, it's okay. You don't need games. Yes, I do. They're important to me. They're important to you. Let's be happy about it. You can be upset about it over there, but you need a spot to be happy about it too. Hence why I'm here. I can make you happy about it. For $19.99 US dollars, I can give you the happy pills. Also, I'm not charging you anything. Not yet. Hopefully, I will give you ways to give me money. I will give you ways to give me money in the relatively near future. And I hope you do it. Where does that leave me today? As a father, as a gamer, as a content creator. Well, my wife works a whole lot, and my support system outside of me, in terms of parenting, is borderline non-existent. I have become the primary, and in a lot of cases, the sole parent, sole caregiver of our youngest child. Our oldest one, the one that has special needs, has a support system because he has special needs. The one under him is old enough that he doesn't need my direct supervision. The young one is an extroverted, high energy, attention seeking, beautifully smart and funny and caring, sweet little boy that drains me of my soul and makes me happier than I could possibly be. It's just, I don't know how else to put it, but he takes a lot out of me. He requires a lot of my time. A lot of my content creation is held back a little bit by the fact that I have to be a father first, but I have to be a father first. So the only games I really play anymore are the ones that I do for this. I don't have time to play any other games, but I'm kind of okay with that because the games I have chosen to play are old ones. And it's a really good time to think about my past and how much things were better on the periphery. I'm feeling good thinking about the first time I played Tomb Raider and how that made me feel. I'm feeling good about Fallout when I was playing that and how everyone is super happy about it. I'm super pumped that people are getting nostalgic for Digimon World through me. And they're sharing their childhood memories with me and their favorite Digimon, and it's taking them back. It's giving them an escape. I love it. So if that means I miss out on the latest Call of Duty, of which I am probably 6 or 7 Call of Duty games behind. More than that? No, because I played the one on PS5. Doesn't matter. Then that's okay. I'll get my chance to play those games again. They're not going anywhere. My son will eventually demand less of me. And by then, one, I'll be sad because he's demanding less of me. But I'll also be happy because I'll be able to breathe a little bit easier. I'll have more time. And I'm having a great time doing this content creation thing. The numbers are building. I don't know if they're building in a way that's going to get me paid anytime soon, but they're building. And as long as they're building, that means it's possible. And it keeps me motivated. Yeah. So gaming as a parent, it's tough. I talked for about an hour. That's not terrible. If there are any other gaming parents out there, I'd love to hear your stories. I'd love to hear how you balance it and how you feel about it. Leave a comment about it. Join my Discord again in the link in the description. We can talk about it personally, back and forth immediately. Yeah. I appreciate the fact that you've made it this far. If you've even tried to listen to this, I appreciate it. If you've watched any of my stuff or have left a comment or engaged in any way or liked my stuff, it means the world to me. I really, really appreciate it. If you could help me get a little nudge in the direction of positivity, positive momentum. I need more of it. If I am to grow and potentially make this a business, please consider subscribing and joining the Discord, of course, leaving a comment, liking, doing all that stuff. Telling a friend, too. Like, I think we need exposure. People need to know about this stuff. And, yeah. So I guess that's it for this week. About an hour. Not too terrible. I miss Nathan. I miss Adam. They're going to be back next time as long as personal stuff does not get in the way. Again, I probably should have led with this. The parenting is what caused the delay to this podcast, which is what caused Adam and Nathan not to be there. But I can't be mad about it. Like, I'm a parent first, right? So it is what it is. If I was working and this did happen when I was working, I had to tell them, like, sorry, my kid needs me. I can't do the thing you're asking for me. If that doesn't work for you, then we go our separate ways, I guess. That sucks. I think that's a crappy thing that you could do, but if that's the way it's got to be, that's the way it's got to be. So, but Adam and Nathan were graciously kind about the delay and the reschedule. So hopefully they're back next time. The topic for next time, what date is that? March 13th, I think, is the next podcast. The topic will be video game companies and why we like them or why we dislike them. It's going to be free form. I kind of want to know the psychology about why we say, yeah, I like that company, or man, I hate that company. One of my followers, I'm not going to name them, talked about a video game developer that he or she hates. And, well, I already said he, so you kind of know it's a he. Most of you watching are he's, so whatever. He hates. And I'm like, I kind of want you to do the work. Hate is a strong word. Why do you hate this person? And they couldn't really give me an answer. So I kind of want to go into that. And since Nathan's going to be there, we'll probably touch on the news. But anyway, if I didn't already, I'm going to hit the music now. And I'm going to do that. I desperately have to go to the bathroom out of nowhere. Probably shouldn't have drank so much right before I started, but we went for an hour. Really appreciate it. Blah, 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 blah. When you talk for an hour, like, and you say sentences well, some of them don't turn out that great. But thank you, everybody. I hope to see you again on March 13th. Subscribe, like if you haven't, and I'll see you next time. My name is Randy Fluharty for Health Bar Half Full. Bye-bye.